when we give the kids these books, they got ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of them, it's the first time they ever own anything in their life.
Right.
Because the clothing is hand-me-downs, the shoes is hand-me-downs, the toys is hand-me-downs. When I see how these kids, how proud they are, that they actually own something, it's like they walk chest up, and that's wins. That's big for us.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Response Able with Professor Nikki James. I mean, louder is better.
I think so.
Because then we can yell. I feel like I have a fake loud voice. Because if I actually screamed right now, I would be super loud. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Response Able podcast. This week I get to introduce you to Natasha and Ian Miller. Natasha and Ian Miller are the founders of Siazana, an amazing not-for-profit organization here in Cape Town that you will learn about as they share their story. Natasha and Ian, once again, are some of my favorite humans. They were born and raised during apartheid here in South Africa, and then got themselves educated, raised and took care of their family, and have now founded and lead Siazana together in order to make a positive impact in the world. And I don't think I know many people on this planet that are as selfless and as dedicated to bringing love and care and support to people as Ian and Natasha are. So I'm so excited to introduce you to them. Let's jump in. But welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Oh, look, you're in sync already. Husband and wife been together for how many years?
33.
But welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm very excited to have you guys here. My first question for you all, and so that everyone can get to know you, it's really open-ended. You can take it in any direction you like. But who are you?
Who goes first? You? Ian. Sometimes I don't know what else to say other than I'm Ian. I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I regard myself as just being an ordinary person and someone who just always looks for new adventures and new ways of doing things. I believe that you don't need to spend a lot of time doing things if you streamline things. So if I had a choice, I would be on the beach sipping a coffee, which means that you need to work smarter so that you got more time for yourself.
Oh, there's such a lot to say. I'm Natasha. I'm Ian's wife. But I think that I've been taught not only see myself as a wife and a partner, and the past couple of years, learning who I am, learning what I bring to the table, and learning that the things that I do bring to the table actually complements Ian's strengths. And I think that we've just become stronger because we've learned to complement each other and complement each other's strengths and weaknesses and look at that. Ian is much more the dreamer. I'm the realist. Ian will sit and he'll have 20 ideas coming to him in the first 5 minutes, and I usually feel like the school teacher that goes, okay, hold on a second, or the parent that goes, okay, hold on, and then just reel him in. But I think through the years I've learned not to curb Ian's passion and to know that the passion comes from wanting to see the world leave the world a better place. As you said, we're grandparents, we're parents, and we've been through a lot in our lives in terms of our political backgrounds in this country as well, and just wanting better for others who, our backgrounds are similar to what ours is. So just fighting for the underdog. I think coming from where we come from, it's always been a big thing for us to want better for the next person, not for any rewards or anything. It's just that's who we are and what we want for others.
And Natasha signs my paycheck, so
Very important.
very important.
And you guys, I will get to this in a little while, founders of an amazing organization that I get to work with called Ciazana. And we're going to jump into how you got there and what that does and everything in a minute. But one of my favorite questions is, do you remember how we met?
Nikki, we met through Genesis Travel, Brett and Donna. They invited us to be part of the Sealer program. Natasha was very keen for it. I thought, oh my hat, another waste of 3 days. But I think this year is the third year that we part of the program.
Mm-hmm.
In the first year, they did a study on Ciazana, and last year on Victor Fusion. And I can say that we see the benefits of it, not just from a financial perspective, but also on how to grow as people and also as businesses, and how ethical business is something that we should all strive for. So we met it through, like I said, through Genesis and through the program. But I think subsequent to that, it's become more than just that. I think, I don't know if Nikki even know this, but she's also somewhat of a mentor. She laughs.
She doesn't have a choice.
In that we throw a lot of ideas to her. And it's always
Some of them are a little crazy, guys.
but it works.
It does.
And it's always good to know you can speak to someone who has really got your best interest at heart. And I mean, I take 50% of what she says as advice, and the other 50% I just ignore. But I think I should give her credit because most people don't get to 50%. So yeah, someone that's become, I think, a friend as well, and that we can just bounce things off throughout the year. I think there's always a hi, how are you? It's not restricted to the time that she is in South Africa.
Yeah, no, I remember the day clearly in a coffee shop, and I kept on looking around for this professor that I think I asked you about 3 or 4 times, are you the professor? Are you the person we're speaking to? Because I was like, okay, nope, not what we had envisioned. We were envisioning this bespectacled older person, and then you showed up. But I think that the first day already, there was an instant connection in terms of what it is that you were doing, your belief system, and your ethics as well. So when we got to learn more about the program, and already on that day, you started giving us advice, and I was like, yes. And just getting an insight from somebody who's actually not been in the inner circle and inner workings of Ciazana, but somebody was looking at it with a completely new lens. You were already able to say, this is what I can see, and that's what shouldn't work, what should work. And I think that excited us as well, because at that point we were running Ciazana, we're still running it on our own, but not with any external advice from anybody. We didn't have, like Ian said, a mentor that could say, guys, maybe you should look at it from this point, or have you tried doing it this way? So we didn't have that resources that we could get feedback in from as well. So I think that got me excited, because I'm a big one on learning and getting different points of views and different strategies and stuff. And yeah, it was. I remember the day very clearly.
So do I.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, do you remember?
Yeah, we were in the cafe with Donna and Brett from Genesis, and they had said to me, we have some people we want you to meet that might be a good organization to work with the students. And all I really knew about was the golf day.
The infamous golf day.
The infamous golf day. That's very, very popular and raises a lot of money and people have a lot of fun. But I think particularly Brent and Donna didn't share anything about Siazana because they wanted me to hear it from you guys. And so I just heard about Siazana and the complexity of it, but also the beauty of it because it is really ingrained in community and serving the need of people in a way that really is transformative and out of your own experience. And that I thought that was really cool. And I couldn't wait to have you meet the students. And I was right. They all love you. Every student that comes and either works on a Siazana project or a Big Diffusion project at first, they go, whoa, this is insane. But then they kind of like work out some cool things and they always really enjoy engaging with you guys. And then the Mandela Day Serving Day is often one of their favorite days because they get to come and serve with your community of local volunteers and really make a difference in the lives of people and just see that it's not a hustle. And I think that's what they love about it. It's like a party where we just happen to be helping people, which is totally embodies what I believe Siazana is all about. And so they really do get that experientially on the day, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's important for us is that charity and philanthropy always seem like a serious thing. And it is serious. It is, needs are genuine and it is serious. But it doesn't mean you can't have fun doing it. It doesn't mean that you can't be yourself doing it. And I think that's the message we really want to bring across in that there's a big need in South Africa and we all need to pay attention to the need, but it doesn't mean we must lose ourselves. We can have a good time building communities and building people. So I think that is cool for us.
So I guess we're talking about Siazana. So for everybody listening, what is Siazana? And to you, Ian, I know this, I've heard you tell this story, but how did it get started?
Again, with Ian, there's always two versions of everything. So Siazana, basically, it's a Zulu word. And it means we are one or we connected. And it started off as a, and I think it still is, it's a passion project and based very much around cognitive development. And it's something that I didn't know that I struggled with as a child because growing up in the 70s and 80s, cognitive development in South Africa wasn't something that was spoken about. You were just deemed as being either lazy or you were deemed as being, they actually used the word stupid or not interested. And I basically went through life always knowing that I was different in a sense, which I think benefited me a lot in life because it taught me how to think out of the box and it taught me how to, as we'd say, hustle. Then met Natasha, got married, had kids, and one day I was sitting in a clinic and there was there was this white lady throwing a tennis ball to this black child and the child wasn't catching the ball. So at first I thought that was funny that this child is not catching the ball. And then after 3 times I thought this lady was being demeaning to the child because at that time, we just broke through apartheid and things were still a bit sensitive. To a point that I got up and I asked, why are you doing that? And she explained to me that he suffers from this term called cognitive development, which means that his brain function is a bit different to what we would regard as mainstream. That made me want to figure out, hey man, is this perhaps what I suffer from? And then I did some research on it and I realized that I actually did suffer from it. And my form of it was that how I see words and how I see numbers is different to what normal people see it. So Natasha's got a huge passion for reading. I absolutely hate reading. And I hate reading, I realized at that point because I hate words. And I realized that a lot of children don't like books for the same reason I don't like books, because books are threatening. Books are definite stories with a definite outcome, and there's a definite right or wrong. And if you suffer from any form of cognitive development, immediately you've got to dislike the books. Then I thought, what about if we take the words out of the books? Would children then become more eager to interact with books? So we looked at the different other projects, we looked at ourselves, and we developed books without words. And we've got a philosophy of we teach kids to read without words. So people always think, how the heck do you do that? And what we do is we realize that a love for reading starts obviously with books. But if words threaten children, they're not going to be passionate about books.
Mm-hmm.
And because education was, a lot of South Africans didn't have education. When kids take books home, the parents or the caregivers also couldn't read. And then they used to reflect that back to the child that books are stupid and books are not going to help you. So when we took the words out, we found that children, became involved with the books simply because there wasn't words. There was pictures and symbols. And the nice thing about pictures is that everybody's right. If there's a picture of a man walking with a child, each child sees it differently and all the answers are correct. Whereas the minute you put words there, it implies that there's a defined story, which meant that kids then got a passion for the books. And eventually we started introducing words, but by the time we introduce words, they've already got a love for the book. So it becomes easier for them to read. Whereas the education system forces us to learn to read, even though all of our minds don't see the same. So I always make an example. A 3-year-old child, when he rides past a shop with a big MC, they immediately know McDonald's. Yet, when you show them the word they don't know what that is. So we then realize that the mind picks up symbols quicker than letters. So we teach kids symbols. When we teach them the A, we teach them A as a symbol and not A as a letter. So their minds pick it up quite easily because I think mentally we are designed to pick symbols up easier. So that program went very well. We then moved it into numbers as well because it's got the same effect. A lot of kids, numbers, doesn't come easy to them. So we teach them numbers through games like Uno, Dominoes, and again, we use the symbols instead of the actual number. So the number 3, we would ask them, find one that looks like this. They find it, you reward them. And as you play with them, you then start saying, find me a 3. The child will then find the 3 without knowing that you actually taught him what a 3 is. So the program is designed, we call it Learn Through Play, is how do we play in a creative sense that teaches people literacy and numeracy. By pure accident, there was a big multiplying effect in that when a child takes the book home now with no words, the caregivers are no longer threatened by the book, which means the caregiver now interacts with the child and together they build stories. And in South Africa, we say they still got a system where parents and children don't really play together. So the books has now created a culture where they play together, where they create stories together. And when the child goes back to school tomorrow, he's super excited because he's got a story that is right. Regardless of what the story is never wrong. And that builds confidence. And once confidence comes in, then I think it just puts the child on a new level because it builds character, it builds vocabulary. Because one child would say, that picture reminded me of a beach. And maybe another child didn't even hear this word beach before. So suddenly the kids are teaching each other words without knowing that they're teaching each other words, because there isn't a threat from a teacher or a lecturer dictating the words to them. They're just figuring it out for themselves. So when it started, we basically did one project a year. We had a budget of we had the golf day, and whatever money we made on the golf day, that was our budget, and we were all very happy. Then COVID came, that changed things, and then Northeastern came, and that changed things. And so currently we in 4 provinces where we're actively busy. We distribute up to 30,000 wordless books per annum, which cost about 500,000 Rand, which is about 25,000 US. And all of our income, I would say 90% of our income comes from friends and family. It comes from our networks. Very little money comes from government systems or corporate systems. And I think again prove that it's just people genuinely wanting to help other people. It is just people wanting to give back without anything in return. Today, Siazana expanded into, we've run gender-based violence programs in all the provinces as well, where we focus on the historical definition of gender-based violence, which is male against female gender-based violence, but we also work with male against male gender-based violence, female against female, and female against male. So we look at it holistically and not just from one angle. And again, we realize that if you talk about gender-based violence, people don't really know what it is. They don't know the definition of it. They don't know that when you whistle at someone, it's perceived as gender-based violence. If you slap someone on the backside, it's gender-based violence. So because they see this in their houses all the time. They see the abuse daily, so it just becomes a norm. So it's breaking those cycles, but again, using play as a mechanism. So we have skits where people, we've got some actors who does plays who bring it out. We also do feeding. I think we started that during COVID, and we're probably on about 6 million meals since then to now. And then we also focus a lot on youth development. So South Africa's got a big population of what we call unemployable youth, which basically means any person who didn't finish matric, which is grade 12, or has got a criminal record. So you steal a bread because you're hungry, you get a criminal record, and you can never find a job in South Africa. And we then go back and we ask, why is the crime levels and the gangsterism levels so high, yet we excluding a big part of our population from getting meaningful employment. So we look at entrepreneurial programs rather than internship programs, in that we teach kids to become entrepreneurs and we teach them to create employment rather than to be employed. So it started off, like I said, as a passion project. And I think for Natasha and myself, it will always be a passion project, but it's expanded beyond what we originally set it out to be, which is a great thing. And like I said, we are very fortunate in that we've got a lot of people who is there for the organization. And then we've also got our own income streams, which all has a profit share with Siazana. So businesses make money and a percentage of the profits go into the organization. So now I said a lot, but at the end of the day, it is just really people who unselfishly want to give back to other people without ever expecting anything back, which I believe is what charity or philanthropy should be. I don't know. Do you want to add anything?
Oh, good. Amazing. Just some of the numbers that you threw out there, 6 million meals. That's pretty incredible. And what you said, 30,000 books?
Per year, yeah.
Per year?
In August, we will do 27,000. And again, so when we start a year, one of the funny things with Northeastern was, where's your budget? And I said, every year our budget starts at 0, and every year it ends with 0. Because as money comes in, we just use it. And I know that in normal business studies and normal business, any business program you run, they always say, budget, budget, budget.
Mm-hmm.
But our philosophy is, if Siazana ends up with money, it means we didn't do what we were supposed to do.
Right.
Although we now understand that we need to build a security level, especially if Natasha and I start pulling back and we need to employ people. So because it's our passion doesn't mean it's everyone's passion. But people who work for the organization has to be passionate about it, but they need to earn an income.
Mm-hmm.
We are entrepreneurs. We've got our own businesses, so it's okay for us to earn nothing out of the organization. But it's highly unfair to expect other people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing we did learn, that we need to build this call account. And the reason for that is to employ people in the future. But yeah, we decide, let's do 2,000 meals on the Mandela Day, which is the 7th. We celebrating this is 17th July. Today, I would just send a WhatsApp to my friends and family. I would say, guys, I need 67,000 Rand because we want to do 2,000 meals. And by hook or crook, we will do it. On the day, it's something to behold. People will just come with money. They will just come with food, and they will just all start cooking and making things. So we got zero budget, zero plan, but it happens. And I think that's one of our strengths.
Yeah, that's amazing, because it's about giving people an opportunity to use what they have.
Yeah.
Like, I love that everybody comes and cooks the food, or some people are cooking the food and some people are distributing the food and some people are counting the meals and greeting the people. Everybody brings their skills to the table to make something happen, which is really special. But the amount of impact, and you said 4 provinces?
Yeah, so
out of 11, right?
Out of 9. 9 provinces, 11 languages.
Okay.
In fact, 12 languages. Braille is an official language. So we're in the Western Cape, we're in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape. But when we do our book distribution, it happens in all the provinces. We're also one of the only organizations that distribute books in all 11 languages. And I know one of the critiques we get often is that we don't take credit for what we do. And I think the organization wasn't started to take credit for what we do, but we also realized that funders look at success stories. And we always kept our success stories, I would say, to ourselves. So just as an example, we now employed a new accountant. The accountant was a beneficiary. Today's doing his articles to be a chartered accountant. We never talk about it, but that's something huge. He's now coming back and he's going to do the books for the entire group. So that is an impact story. We always felt that the stories is drawing attention to people, and we always felt we didn't want to do that. And I think that was one of our biggest mistakes, is in not talking about our successes, not talking about the fact that we build. I don't even know how much education centers we built, gave the book nooks to, the libraries on wheels. So even when I say that, I realize I didn't even talk about that. So we've designed an entire education system, or kit as they call it, in a box which is about 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, which includes everything that anybody needs to start an education center. And we distribute these things throughout South Africa as well, with a syllabus that goes with it that is so easy that any person can teach. So our biggest beneficiaries when it comes to education is what we call no-fee and low-fee education centers, which basically means the parents don't pay a fee for the child to go to the education center, because there's all these, we call them gogos, there's all these aunties and these grandmas in every area that wants to give back but don't have the resources. So we partner with them and we then equip them so that the project always stays theirs, and we just come as an impact partner to them. It never becomes a Siazana project. It stays their project, and Siazana becomes an impact partner. because we feel it's important that the people in the communities who builds these programs must get the credit due to them. And it also means we don't need to duplicate anything anyway. So as you can see, when it comes to Siazana, I think we can speak for hours because it's really a passion thing. And again, for the next year, it's building the resources for the next generation to take over, because we really want Siazana to be a sustainable organization.
Amazing. I love it. It's so good. And it will be, right? Because I
It will be.
totally believe in, like, you can re-engineer a business model to kind of make it work, which is super exciting. So switching gears a little bit now, how did we get there? Let's talk about, like, how did you get from school and whatever that looked like to being the founders of such an amazing organization, Natasha?
I think for both Ian and myself, from school, we grew up in what is called the Cape Flats, where education is not really priority or wasn't priority at that point. It was more about economic sustainability for families. And then when apartheid was abolished, we were able to study what we wanted to study, learning institutions that we were previously not allowed to enter into, basically. With that, we've also seen, I had my twins just when I finished school.
Your twins?
Our twins.
Oh.
When I finished school, and immediately, because of a teenage pregnancy, it was, oh, you've got to go and work in a factory. And for me, it was, I've always had a passion for reading. I've always had a passion for wanting to know. Call me curious George. And I was told, no, you can't go and do this. I was told you can't study law. You couldn't become an air hostess. So it was very limited. And I was very passionate about wanting to break that cycle. And as such, education was very big for me, for Ian. And we had always said we would give our kids a better life than what we had. I think that the generations before had hoped that they would be able to do that, but it wasn't economically viable. We had big families, and as such, the older ones would have to leave school earlier to go and help the parents with the young, with money and financially in any way that they could. And when we got married, it was a big thing for us to push the education philosophy on our kids, because we knew that education opens doors. We both went on with our studies as well. And like Ian said, reading is big for me. It's just been, when you can read, there's a whole world of knowledge that is out there, that is
Right.
that is open to you. And that is what we promoted. That is what we wanted. But the sad thing that when we got to that point, we also realized that it wasn't everyone in South Africa that was able to afford the schooling on the same merits, on the same level as each and every South African could. So you needed to actually go out there and introduce your kids to things that they not normally introduced to in the schooling system. And we just pushed. And Siazana came about, like Ian said, in 2017, when we saw the things that was going on. And the one thing that Ian also didn't mention was the interview that we did with 16, 17-year-olds that were on the street corners. And we wanted to just know, why are you not in school? Why are you not doing things to become economically independent and help yourselves break out of the cycle of poverty? And then realizing the extent of the uneducated youth in our country. And when we went in deeper, and we found out that there was cognitive development issues, like Ian said, different children learn differently. And that is the one thing that we have taken in to Siazana, is if you can't teach a child in the way that they can learn, teach the child in the way that he can learn. So it's just like, just changing it a bit, not changing the whole system, because we wouldn't be able to do that in any case, but being aware of the needs out there. We could easily have stayed in a little bubble, but we we took on this monumental task of not wanting to stay in this bubble, and that is where our educational programs came in for ECDs. The one thing that, again, we were very aware about is that the educational ECDs that were opening up in your communities, it wasn't because they wanted to, but there was no access. Yeah, there's a big need, and there was no access for these kids because of financial difficulties. So these kids would go to school, the first day of school, not being able to read, not being able to write. The beginning of this year, the stats came out for our illiteracy in South Africa, and grade 4s, I think it's 70% that can't recite the alphabet at the end of grade 4.
Wow.
Grade 7s, the majority, 60% that leave grade 7 without being able to read for meaning. So when we looked at it, it's all our programs are holistic, and we had to look at it. Where does it start? It doesn't start in grade 7 or grade 8. It actually starts at grassroots level.
Yeah.
And that's where we needed to tackle the problem, is at grassroots level. When a kid gets to grade 4, it's almost too late for them to be catching up. So we needed to look at programs that was going to be impactful from the beginning. And yes, we're a small organization, but the one thing that we also learned in COVID, and this was actually very important, this is one thing that actually kept us going on, is realizing the power of a little. Because a lot of littles, like Ian says, a lot of littles makes a lot. And a lot of time people would go, I've only got a 5 rand to give you. 5 rand goes a long way when it's multiplied by 1,000 5 rands. And that is the one thing that pushed us, was to take those littles and to move it into the lots. Because when we sit down and we actually look back at what we've done, we just go like, wow, how did we do this? Because we don't get government funding. We don't get lots of corporate funding, but it is, like Ian said, friends and family, and people who also just want to leave this place a little better for the next generation. And it doesn't take a lot of big money. It's just that you've got to be ethical about what you're doing, and you've got to be accountable. So if you saying that this is what you want to do, just know that ethics plays a big part in your dreams and putting those dreams, and it's a reality for us. And I think that in March of this year, February, March, when we did our beginning of the year initiative, we did books, and we distributed about 6,000 books, and that went all over South Africa. Those 6,000 books, each and every one of those books, it is the first time that a child in South Africa would actually own their first book. And that's a big thing for us.
Right.
It's something that we cannot take lightly. July comes, it's our next initiative, and it's big. It's a big thing, because so many kids get to grade 4 and not having owned their first books. So how did we go from school to here? It is just wanting to take what we've learned and seeing what we see in our country, and just try to make it a little bit better and easier for our generations, for our next generations coming up.
Yes.
And Natasha can correct me if I'm wrong, but as an example, if an educare center has 50 children, we would then give the educare center 150 books?
So 3 books would belong to the child for them to take it home, and 1 book stays with the center. One thing that Ian kind of mentioned earlier on is the fact that the caregivers, or the parents, or the grandparents, whoever is the caregiver of the child, the literacy rate between our adults is also quite high. So there is a resistance to them wanting to teach the kid to read because of their inability to read.
Right.
So they don't want to come across as stupid. So there'd be a big resistance in saying, I'm too busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yes. So with these programs that we've got, it's where the caregiver can actually sit with the child and they become invested in sharing stories and sharing their story time with the child as well. And it becomes an absolute fun thing. The communities that we send these kids into, there's not a lot of money. There's oftentimes that the caregivers of these children cannot afford for the children to be attending the center. So it's almost like a domino effect because there can't be any payments. There's no resources and equipment. So what do? We've got to get the syllabus that we've got. We actually have to look at ways and means that they don't have to give up money, but it's simple things like painting a stone so the child can start identifying colors, taking paper and cutting it out into shapes. And it's so exciting when you go into one of these ECDs and the children are sitting on mats and they can count to 10 and they are so excited. And the bottom line is that we'd like to give these children in the communities that cannot pay the Montessori and the private school fees. We just want to give them an equal footing. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to do that. So when they get to that first day of school, which is so important, and we all know children can be very nasty. So you know, you will get that child who's a little bit slower, and they don't know the colors or they don't know the shapes, and your classmates start snickering or they start laughing, and we just want to take away that fear and that almost ostracizing from the rest of the group, so that when a child goes into school, they're ready for that first day of school.
They lean into the education instead of
away from it.
Fear, which is amazing.
I think what's also important is when we give the kids these books, they got ownership. And for a lot of them, it's the first time they ever own anything in their life. Because the clothing is hand-me-downs, the shoes is hand-me-downs, the toys is hand-me-downs. So it's the first time that they actually own something. And a lot of people will tell us, but the kids will just mess it up. The reality is children are children. And they're allowed to mess things up. And if that's your biggest problem, you need to relook at how you see things. But we find that a lot of them actually treasure these books. And in some cases, when we give books in January, we will then do another batch in June, just so that there's a recycling of the books at the same ECD. And now and again, you get a child come with his books and say, must I swap the books now? And you say, no, you can keep it, there's more. And again, I started by saying I had zero passion for books. I had zero passion for reading. Natasha loved it. But when I see how these kids, how proud they are, that they actually own something, it's like they walk chest out, you know, and that's wins. That's big for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's really important that, getting the parents to, be comfortable with it as well and doing it in a way where they're not shamed or don't have confidence because they don't know what's going on as well. And it's just like so many things is really small. Like you said, everybody's little makes a lot and we can make a massive impact just doing really small, simple things, which is really incredible. And you also, I have to say, like the education thing runs deep. You have some very educated children.
Yes.
Who are lawyers.
Fortunately, they take after their mother.
I think they probably have a little bit of the entrepreneurial hustle in there too, Ian. I don't know, but we've got many lawyers in the brood of 6 now because they're all married and probably many other things as well. Is there a finance or accounting person?
Actually, no.
From memory?
We
don't have that one covered yet.
We don't have that one covered. And like Natasha said, education for us was important because growing up as part of the student movements, we had a saying, no education without liberation. Which basically meant that we sacrificed our education for liberation. And only when liberation came, you realized, hang on, what am I going to do with this liberation if I don't have education? And I think I always regard us as being blessed in that we saw that, because a lot of people didn't see that.
Right.
And we then decided to invest in our children's education. We could have also not seen it, and things would have been different.
Right. But wow, I didn't realize that was kind of one of the mantras.
Yeah, so it was no sport in an abnormal society, no education without liberation.
Right.
So there's quite a few things that was part of the student movement. Some controversial, especially when you find out later that the people telling you to sacrifice your education all send their children overseas to get education. And you think to yourself, hang on, you told me to sacrifice my schooling, but all your children went to private schools in England and America. And
right.
so what was...
Yeah, hold up.
Yeah, hold on. But like I said, fortunately we're not... Again, I think Natasha and I are blessed in that, yes, we did see the wrongs in that, but we didn't hold on to it. We looked at our lives and we said, we've got this liberation now. What does it mean for us? And we then decided to invest in ourselves, in our own education, and in our children and their education. And I think you know this, Nikki. So I'm old school, so I still talk standards. So I left school grade 10, and I then joined the armed struggle, which is another discussion. But I'm one of those people who's got a postgrad from UCT, a business postgrad from UCT. I've got an undergrad from UNISA, and I didn't finish matric. I didn't finish grade 12.
Okay.
Because it's this thing called an age exemption that I realized I qualified for, which basically means when you're 23, you can study in the field that you work. So I was a driver, and accounting was close to that. So I did my undergrad in accounting. It took me 10 years to do a 3-year degree, but I got through it.
Wow.
And then
so wait, you said you were a driver,
yeah,
which was similar to accounting.
So as a driver, you used to do the petty cash, and you used to do the banking. So I could get away with it.
Okay.
And
you found the entrepreneurial angle.
Yeah. And then strangely, I did my postgrad, which was 12 subjects in a year. And I finished it at UCT, which is apparently South Africa's #1 business school. And I don't think Natasha took the degree out of the little tube and made a copy. I don't think I've ever taken it out, because the degree itself, what I learned meant a lot to me, but the actual degree didn't mean that much to me. So I'm still one of that people, the degrees will lay in a drawer somewhere.
Right.
But I think it's important for people to know that if you do not finish school, it doesn't mean the end of education journey.
Right.
There's always ways to get around every scenario. And that's what we did. When we did do our matric, we did it correspondence. Our grade 12, Natasha finished in a year. It took me about 4 years, I think. But I eventually finished it. And again, it's all back to reading. It was all back to words. It was all back to, I don't want to look at these things. I'm not interested in it.
And honestly, you were probably having to learn stuff from grade 7 and 8,
Correct.
9 and 10 to be able to build, because education stacks on each other, right? And so some of the data that I looked at when I was doing my PhD is if you have a really bad teacher in grade 2 and they don't teach you the things you need in grade 2, then what you learn in grade 3 is not going to make sense.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So you're the same. If you go into kindergarten and they expect that you know how to count to 10 and you know your colors and you know your alphabet, and you don't, and they just add from there without catching you up. Yeah. So you probably did it in 4 years, but you're probably learning 6 years worth of information in those 4 years.
Yeah, and it's true what you say. You almost feel stuck because everyone is moving further, but you still at point 1. And it's not that you don't try. I mean, there was many nights I used to sit up all night and try and study, and I tried to listen and I tried to do the things, but it just didn't connect in my head because everything was parrot fashion. And I realized much later in life that I'm never going to be a parrot fashion person. I'm always going to be someone who walks next to parrot fashion people and learn like that. But I'm never going to learn my ABCs the way the education system teach it.
More practical than theoretical.
Yes. No, which is great. What do you think it was that made you not give up?
Natasha, a lot. And so when we got married, we never had education.
Well, at the time you got married, you weren't allowed.
Yeah. So we both finished grade 10, grade 11. And we didn't have the means to finish our studies. And we looked at each other and we said,
This is not our story.
this is not our story. And then we both encouraged each other. We worked 7 days a week. We studied while being parents. Natasha sacrificed a hell of a lot so that I could further my studies and do my postgrad while she was at home looking after the family and making sure the family unit is there. I'd always give her the credit for that. I don't think we would have been where we are had she not made that sacrifice in order for me to study. When we do our workshops and our mentorship programs and one-on-one mentorship or mentorship with a group, we use the mirror a lot because the mirror is an important part of life. I think people undermine the mirror. And one thing about the mirror is when you ask, who's got my back? The first thing you must do is look in the mirror. And whoever you see in the mirror, that's the first person who's got your back. And most times it's yourself.
Right.
And that is the first person who must believe that they can do it. We married and lots of times I see Natasha in the mirror as well. So as a unit, I know she's got my back. But other than that, how much people do you see in the mirror? But in the morning when you wake up, who do you see in the mirror? And that is the person you need to trust the most. You need to encourage the most. Like I could stand in the mirror and I'm probably my biggest supporter and I'm also my biggest critique. So Natasha would often say, can you stop swearing at my husband? Because I'm very self-critical.
Right.
But I also stand in the mirror and I also say, wow. I just feel like, wow, did you actually do that?
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be big things. It can be small things. It's like, wow, you actually achieved that. You were voted the child to be the biggest failure.
Right.
But look what you've done there. You've seen the world, you've done things. So
and you're not doing that selfishly. You're doing that also paying it forward and enabling and creating a platform for everyone around you to give back. And
I think that's why we're blessed.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that degree needs to come out of the scroll and maybe go on the wall.
I think part of it is that I think you get two types of people with degrees. You get people with degrees that give a lot back and use their degrees for the greater good.
Yeah.
But you get a lot of people who walk around carrying that degree and be no benefit to society. And I think that plays a part that I don't want to be that guy. I'm proud of my achievements. I'm proud that a child without matric could, at that point, I must check it up, could have the highest market strategy in UCT. But I'm not going to carry that.
Right.
What I learned is what I need to carry and make the world better. And although CSR impacts so many, we truly believe there's going to be one person. And we're not going to know who the person is. And the person will never know us. And then I would cry. Who's going to change the country?
Yeah.
I believe it.
And they'll never know you, but
They'll never know us, and we won't know our impact.
right.
We won't know that we were part of that impact. And they're going to be talking about stories, and we're going to know we're part of it. So,
It's amazing.
it's just about, you know what, when you give back, just
I think the bottom line is that they will know that we're part of the impact because it will be Siazana. I think that the one thing that the last 3 years with Northeastern has also taught us is to stop undermining our own successes and our impact that we have had on society. And no, we don't sit and calculate the numbers. It's actually when our board goes, have you guys seen this? But I think the most important part for us is that when we look back, basically being social entrepreneurs is not an easy thing. Sometimes it can be a thankless job, but you need to go into it knowing that not everybody's going to know your name. Not everything's going to be a success, and not everything's going to be easy. You're going to fall and you have to get up. You don't learn from just having a smooth path in front of you. We've fallen quite a few times. We've knocked our heads quite a few times, but it's about getting up. It's about looking at what the bigger picture is, what it is that we wanted to do when we started Siazana. It was about making an impact, and whether it is 1 child, 10 child, 1,000 children, the bottom line is that we wanted to make a change. It's not been easy all the time, but it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it when you walk back into an educare center and you have the smiles on the children's faces, or you say you're telling a child that book is theirs because they want to go and put it back onto the shelf when they're done reading it. Going, no, that's yours, and it's absolute amazement that, wow, this is mine. I think that's the bottom line, is that this journey is not an easy journey, but it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. I think we've been a little bit, I don't know the right word to use, but I feel like the world is kind of telling us in a way that it kind of needs to be easy, or that it has to be big, right? So we look at the unicorn, we look at the person with the perfect journey towards success, but you would never have gotten to 30,000 without giving away your first book.
Exactly.
And I think some of the challenge is we have this fear of starting because we don't know all the answers. It's a journey of learning that enables you to, you can start with one and it grows and it evolves, and you mistake and you fall and you get back up again. It ends up with some really beautiful stories that you have along the way, and you get to help way more people, right? I think one of the things that I've always said is we overestimate what we can do in a shorter period of time and underestimate what we can do in a long period of time, right? And I think that's our biggest kind of flaw, or the kind of mindset that we have to overcome to actually make a positive impact over the long term. Like, life is long.
Yes.
And you guys, although you're thinking about succession now, I genuinely believe that Siazana is just getting started. Usually my last question is, what is some wisdom or piece of advice that you would give like your 20-year-old self? But you've been dropping, both of you, wisdom bombs all the way through. And so I am like, if you have anything that you want to share, that's fine, but there might not be an answer to that question because we've been oozing wisdom and advice and ideas from the beginning of us being talking.
I think it's just, one thing is, never underestimate the power of starting small. There's a lot of knowledge and power in just starting. And like you said earlier on, a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, think that they've got to go in with this big bang. And don't run somebody else's race. Run your own race. You're only going to learn your strengths and weaknesses by running in your own race, staying in your own lane, and don't watch the crowd. It's not their story, it's your story. So
yeah, amazing. I love that.
For me, my one word would be oops. Because my
I mean, we're not going to cut it there because I kind of don't know what you're talking about. So say more.
So I've got a personality that cannot let things just lie. So
really,
I always come up with new ideas, new concepts.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, it doesn't work in the way the world see what should work and shouldn't. There's always lessons, and then you go, oops, shouldn't have done that. Or it works, and it's like, oops, did I actually just do that? So it's like, whatever you do, never forecast the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Because your failures, which is something we believe in, your failures is often your biggest successes.
Mm-hmm.
And we should stop using the word failure in a negative context.
Right.
It is probably one of the most positive words out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you learn through your failures, you only become stronger.
Right.
A lot of people don't learn out of their successes. Then what is the point? So we big believers of, like I said, oops, and failing. Failing was, I failed thrice in my high school career. But it taught me so much stuff that had I not failed, I wouldn't have known. Had I not failed in business, I wouldn't have known things. Had I not failed in life, I wouldn't have known things. So, like I said, now I would just tell my 20-year-old, failing is good and oops is amazing.
I love that. That's so good. I just want to say thank you to both of you for sharing and sharing so openly with your story. And I love it. And I know you mentioned earlier on that I've been a mentor to you, but you guys in many ways have been a mentor to me, especially in the way you do it together, right? They say if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
And if you want to go fast, then together. In many ways, seeing you guys do this together, has made me look at things differently, and actually believe it's possible to do it together with somebody, which is really incredible. So you guys have been a mentor to me in many ways as well. So,
Thank you.
and I'm sure for all the students who have gotten the opportunity to work with you already and those in the future and all those listening to your story, I'm sure they're going to leave really inspired by you guys. So thank you.
We're excited for the next batch of students. Yeah. And we always threatened that we're going to come to Boston, but I do think it's something we should do.
Yeah.
And just have a touch base again with all the students that was with us in the last couple of years, and maybe have a golf day there.
I'm sure we're going to do. Let's just make it a vacation to begin with, and then we can talk about a second time.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing today. And
thanks.
I can't wait to have the world hear this story in your journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Natasha, Ian, thank you so much for sharing so authentically and sharing your story and how you ended up building and leading Siazana. I learn a lot from you each and every day, and it was such an honor to bring your story on the podcast today. I think the number one thing that I learned from Ian and Natasha's story is that you don't have to have an impactful career right out of the gate. We all learn and grow and become aware of the impact we can make at different stages. And in addition to that, sometimes early on, we're just not in a place where we have the opportunity or the means to be able to do something, because we have to focus on ourselves and our own education and our family and getting ourselves set up if we didn't have that foundation from our own family. So I think Natasha and Ian's message for me is that's okay. Part of the message of Responsible and the Responsible podcast is all about doing what we can with what's in our hand. And sometimes that might be volunteering. When our business has a volunteer day, maybe it's something as bold as Ian and Natasha and founding our own business. But whatever you're doing today, thank you. And thank you so much, Ian and Natasha, for sharing your story. Every year when I'm here in Cape Town, I learn so much from Ian and Natasha. And I also get to be involved in the Mandela Day of Service with them. So every year on Mandela Day, in South Africa, everybody is inspired to spend some time volunteering and giving back and doing a day of service. And I get to partner with Siazana and do that every year. And I'm going to be doing that this year. And it's on the 17th of July. Mandela Day is actually on the 18th, but we're doing it on the 17th this year. But for 67 Rand, which is $4.13, for US dollars, $4.13 US cents, you can sponsor a meal for 10 people on that day, which is incredible. And it's focused primarily on children and young people. That week is also my birthday. So I don't usually ask for a lot for my birthday, but if you are in a position to be able to sponsor 10 people to receive a meal on that day, please, please, please use the link in the show notes to sponsor some amazing kids to get a meal and just get some love and support from all of us on Mandela Day. That's it from me for this week. I will see you all next week.